Hi, welcome to SeniorSafetyAdvice.com. I'm Esther Kane. Today's topic is going to be a little personal. We're going to talk about grief. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because just a few days ago it was the 6th anniversary of my husband's death. So, of course, it's always on my mind, but it's just more recent now with the anniversary. And also because I've been reading a lot on Facebook groups for caregivers and seniors about this topic, like how do I deal with it? What do I do now? Especially if someone's been caregiving their elderly parent for a long time and now all of a sudden everything changes. I've lost both my parents and my husband, and I can tell you that grief is something that I don't think you get over, but I think you learn to live with it. So I'm going to give you my 6 tips of how I am learning to live with it, because obviously it's an ongoing process. I do want to say I'm not a counselor. I'm not a grief counselor in any way. I mean, I have a degree in occupational therapy. I worked as an OT for many years, so there's no one in healthcare that doesn't do some kind of counseling, but I am not a trained grief counselor. So please, if you need counseling, if you aren't able to cope with it, please seek out counseling. Online, of course, everyone can do that. Pretty much everyone can do that these days online, and hopefully once COVID is done with, which I hope is soon, then you can do it in person. All right, so let's get to the 6 tips about this difficult topic of grief. Again, before I get started with that, feel free to subscribe, click on the like button, do all that great stuff, because we do appreciate each and every single subscriber very much to our website, and to our channel, and we certainly hope that the information we give out is useful and helpful for you. I do want to say that grief is very different depending on, of course, who passes away. When my parents passed away, it wasn't so devastating. Of course, it's sad, of course, but they're much older, so it didn't hit me as hard as it did when my husband passed away. We were together 25 years, and it was a lot of years of taking care of him, and it didn't matter. The passing was still extremely devastating. So grief is different for each and every single situation, and I truly cannot even imagine what it would be like if you lost a child. So if you're in any stage of grief, my heart goes out to you. I know what you're dealing with, or at least a little bit of it, because it is different for everyone. But hopefully these 6 tips will help. Even if you're not there, someday you most likely will be, because hey, no one is getting out of this life alive, right? All right, tip number 1, talk to everyone. For whatever reason, I don't know why, when my husband passed away, I just needed to talk to everyone. I need to tell everyone. It didn't matter who it was, the grocery clerk, the mailman, the pharmacist. My friends who followed me around during those first few months, always had a box of tissues with them, because I could just burst out crying while I was talking to the guy next to me in the cereal aisle. I don't know why I did that. But for whatever reason, it was very cathartic for me, and I needed to do that. Yeah, I know it put a lot of people in very uncomfortable positions, but hey, you truly find out who your friends are. So I am very grateful to my friends who are watching this. I thank them every year. I just want to say thank you for whatever it is that you did during that time, because I certainly don't remember most of it, but I do remember that I spoke to a lot of people, or just about everyone. So anyway, talk, get your emotions out, speak about it. it doesn't matter if you've repeated it 1,000 times. It's very important to talk. And that's really where counseling comes in as well. If you don't have that support group of friends or family there for you, very important. And you don't want to bother the guy in the cereal aisle. That poor guy, I wonder what happened to him. Anyway, tip number 2, let your friends in. Most people don't know what to say or do when tragedy strikes. There's this great scene in this movie, Lars and the Real Girl, where Lars is mourning the inevitable death of his girlfriend, and people in the town just come by. They're bringing food, and they're sitting there with him in the living room, and he asks, "Is there anything I'm supposed to do?" And they said, "Nope, you're just supposed to eat. We're here to sit." And one of the women said, "That's what people do when tragedy strikes. People come and sit." And that is very true. They do. They come, they sit, they are just there, because the truth is there are no words. There's nothing that anyone can say that can make that pain go away. That's for sure. So you just having the comfort of somebody there with you will make getting through it a little bit better, just so you can get to the next minute, the next 20 minutes, the next hour. So your friends want to do that. They want to be there. But of course, most people, when they're just sitting there, they want to do something. They want to help you somehow. So guide them. Give them assignments. Go to the grocery store for me. Clean the litter box. Take the dog out. Come sit with me every night and we'll watch Columbo, or I don't know, whatever, anything at all that you feel you need. And if they can give it to you, they will. And spread it, of course. Don't put all the burden on any one friend or family member. Use as many of them as you can. And believe me, people will feel so wonderful that they were there to help you. And at some point, you'll be able to pass it on, pass it forward, pay it forward. That's the phrase. So use your friends, use your family, let them in, don't shut them out. Although I know it is very, very difficult to do, because you're just not thinking at all during that time. And you may not even remember. Which takes me to tip number 3. It's very true what they say. I heard it several times where people said, don't make any major decisions, don't make any major changes in the first year. Just don't. And about 5 weeks after my husband passed away, I was just emotional, I was angry, I was everything, I was 8 different emotions throughout the day, 20 different times, because that's what grief does, at least to me. And I decided that I needed to paint something, on the wall, and I got on the ladder and I did that, and I fell, of course, because I wasn't thinking and I wasn't doing anything safely or correctly. I ended up shattering my wrist, every single bone in that wrist. Surgery, I'm living with plates and pins now, and a year of rehab, and it was just stupid. So it's true what they say. For the 12 months after the initial event, don't change things, don't make any major decisions, and you'll be better off. So that was my lesson. I had to learn it the hard way. I hope you don't have to do that. Tip number 4, there is no right or wrong way to grieve. So if you go into fits of crying and screaming and yelling and whatever, for 6 months after your loved one passes away, and your friend, her husband dies, and a month later she's on a cruise with another person, don't judge that person, because everyone grieves differently. Some people react right away, some people react much later, and everyone reacts differently. So don't judge that person. Just go through what you need to go through and try to get the help that you need to figure out what it is that you need. because that really is the crux of it. Because you can't think straight because of grief, you can't really make decisions very well, and you may not have the kind of insight that you need into what it is that you need. At least that was my experience. But also, I spent so many years doing things and taking care of my husband that I really kind of forgot what I liked or needed. I mean, after he passed away, I didn't even know what kind of eggs I liked. 'Cause he always had scrambled eggs, so we just always ate scrambled eggs. That's what he liked. But I had to, do I even like scrambled eggs? What other egg? I didn't know. It seems silly, but when you're caring for another person for a length of time, you do tend to lose yourself, and you forget who you are and what you like and what you enjoy. And I had to go through that process of rediscovering all of those things again. And you may have to as well, if you've been in that process, if you've been in that stage of caring for someone. That's just very natural. So just know that that's normal, but it's just added on top of the grief, because you didn't only lose your loved one, you also lost a little bit of yourself, because when you love someone, you give them your all. That's what love is. And you can easily lose, that piece of you has definitely gone as well. So now you have to fill that hole somehow, some way. I don't know if it ever gets filled, but anyway. All right. Tip number 5. You will inevitably have to push yourself to do anything, especially initially. But after some time, it may either get worse or it may get a little bit better. For me, it just came in waves. There were good days, there were bad days, good months, bad months. What the hardest part for me is the mornings. I find the mornings extremely difficult, and there's still many, many mornings that I get up where I just don't want to wake up. And I think that that's very normal. I know that that's very normal. So what I did for myself was I had to schedule things. I had to make sure that there was something that I had to get up for. So I have pets, and you have to get up and feed them and walk them and change litter box and whatever. So you have to do that. You have appointments with friends, or getting your hair done, or anything. You're taking a walk with your neighbor. That today is the day you have to clean your bathrooms or vacuum or whatever it is that you need to do. I'm grateful for my clients and my career, because that also gave me incentive to get up. But you have to schedule something. And that may be the hardest part, because you initially may not want to do it, but you have to. And hopefully that other person or that you have scheduled with, they will help to pull you, maybe not physically, but to pull you out of bed to get up and get going, because it is going to be very difficult just to literally take a breath and to take a step and to get dressed and to shower and just to do anything. I think, I have this faint memory of me just laying on the sofa, and my neighbor came by to see me, neighbor friend came by to see me, and she was literally just forcing me to get up and get out and take a shower and get ready. So obviously I needed a shower, but grief can definitely put you in a place where you need help from others. But at the end of the day, it really is up to you to push yourself, because you can't expect others to be there for you 24/7. It's not fair to them. And so the strength is yours. The ball is in your court. All right, last tip number 6, seek counseling. Now, for me, I had some counseling, and that was wonderful. But for me, the biggest help really throughout the length of time, all these years, is really been self-help books. A friend of mine, my wonderful neighbor that I spoke about before, gave me a book near the beginning. I think it was just a couple of weeks after he died, and it was the right book at the right time. And it helped me to get back to reading self-help. I used to read self-help all the time, but my husband was a psychologist, and he didn't really like self-help books. He thought they were like pop psychology kind of things. But so I stopped reading them after a while. But I slowly got back into them, and I forgot how good they make me feel. Now that's just me. It may not be the solution for you, but for me, I've begun collecting a lot of them, reading them, rereading them, highlighting, taking notes, and they've been very helpful in my progress and in giving me the skills that I need to live with grief. Because I think, as I said earlier, it just doesn't ever really go away. I read in one of these books that it's like a splinter. It just sits in your finger. You can't get it out, but you have to learn to live with it. And that, to me, is what grief is. So how do I do that? And, you know, between a little bit of counseling and between all of these books and more, I think, that I have, I have been able to form some kind of a healthy relationship with grief, accepting it, allowing it to happen, overtake me when it needs to overtake me, and not being afraid to cry when I need to cry, and encouraging everyone to continue talking about it. I had a friend the other day say to me, "Oh, I don't mean to bring him up." And I said, "Oh no, you're not, don't be afraid to bring him up, because he's never not up. He's never not in my mind, so don't be afraid." And actually, it's actually wonderful to talk about him, because one thing people do is they are afraid to bring up the name or mention the person who passed away, thinking that they're going to remind you, or maybe they have to deal with you crying. But the truth is, if they don't talk about that person, it's worse. It's as if they have just completely forgotten them, which of course they haven't. But again, most people don't really know what to do when tragedy like that strikes and causes such grief. Well, I hope these 6 tips were helpful. I know that I am still learning and still figuring out my way through this maze. It's not a club or anything that I ever thought I would belong to, being a widow. Like I said, we were together 25 years, so it's difficult to let go of that. But everything happens for a reason. I have to believe that. And I think that everything that happens to you, you learn something from it. The trick is, can you be open to learning it? And the only way you can do that is if you get out of your own way and listen to what others are saying, be it in a book or your friends or counselors. And hopefully you'll be able to get through it in a healthy manner. All right, I thank you for listening. Again, subscribe. We appreciate every single subscriber. And if you have any comments, questions, leave them below. And of course, if you have any recommendations on any topics that you would like us to cover, please let us know either via our website at seniorsafetyadvice.com or in the comments below, and we'll certainly try to accommodate. All right, I thank you for taking the time to listening, and I hope that these 6 tips will help you if you're in the grief process. And my heart does go out to you if you're in it, but you will get better. It does get better. Somehow, some way, it does get better. So know that that will happen at some point. All right. Thank you. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Bye.